when did you find out you were autistic?
I found out when I was about 21 or 22 years old. I didn't recently know that I was autistic before then.
And do you let your autism control your life?
I used to, but I think recently I've been able to start not letting it affect my life as much. Yeah, sometimes it does affect me from time to time, but not always.
How does it affect you?
It affects my sleep, affects my way of life. Like sometimes I might get into an argument with my dad about silly things, and I think that's due to my autism.
Okay, you think that you kind of see things in quite a fixed way sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you handle stressful situations being autistic?
I've come up with a few techniques to help with my autism when I'm in stressful situations, like breathing techniques, holding on to things that make me feel comfortable, like my necklace, my pendant, or my special stone, and just trying to not even be in stressful situations in the first place.
So what kind of things stress you out?
Heavy crowds, especially like if I was to go to a concert or a very loud or well-known premiere for a film that I'd wanted to go and watch. But basically, like if I was going to a very busy city and it was packed with people, I would get very stressed.
Mm-hmm. And what would you do if you were stressed? And
I try to calm myself down by using my breathing techniques, which is and also just trying to find like there's the senses technique. So 5 things to touch, see, 5 things to see, 4 things to hear, 3 things to smell, 2 things to touch, and 1 thing to what was the 5th sense? I don't know, but anyway, those kinds of situations.
So like grounding yourself.
So grounding myself, make sure that I am not as stressed as I was previously.
Okay. How do you see the world differently to other people?
Very difficult question to answer, but yeah, I see the world very differently. Well, when people are talking, I see them talking very differently to other people. Like I'm always fixed on one thing, and if I'm not fixed on one thing, my mind goes into overdrive. So if I'm not focused on one thing that's, say, different to someone else, it's very hard for me to concentrate. So that's how I see the world. I see the world as like it's moving at a faster pace than the average person would. It takes me a while for my mind to actually slow down and focus in on something.
Mm. So would you say you see the world black and white?
Yes.
How do you see the world black and white?
Well, if I see someone being bullied, I think them as a victim. But if I see someone, hurting someone either emotionally, physically, or mentally, then they are bad people.
Okay. And how are you when it comes to dating and relationships?
I'd say in the past I wasn't very well, but I think that I've gotten a bit better. I definitely, especially online, I ask all the questions to see if they're genuine people or not. Previously when I didn't know I was autistic, I was always being catfished and stuff like that. But I think that nowadays, because I know a lot more about my autism, I can see the red flags that people have, but also try to have genuine conversations with people and discuss about things that we like and stuff like that.
And how do you have genuine conversations with people as you're autistic?
It is hard, but I think the real reason why I have genuine conversations is because we are similar, like we're both autistic and also have ADHD, so we try and find ways to communicate that are helpful for both of us.
So you find it easier to connect with people who are neurodiverse?
Yes.
Okay. How do you get on with connecting people that aren't autistic?
It is quite hard, but I do just try to keep the conversation going. Especially, I talk to my aunt from day to day, and obviously she's not, autistic or neurodivergent, but we still have time to talk to about each other about certain things, and it's I've gotten quite good at it because of practice. Because practicing actually talking to people who aren't neurodivergent makes it easier for. So say if a stranger started talking to me about a certain thing, I would have some good skills of knowing how to respond and talk to them.
So, as an autistic person, you have special interests. What are some of your special interests?
I like to play and watch football, play video games, especially FC26 or what FIFA used to be. I like script writing, I like listening to music, I like creating music, writing stories, and making YouTube videos. And if I'm not focused on one of those things that I said, then it just makes it difficult for me to focus in on one thing.
And how do you get on with your family being autistic?
It is quite difficult because they're very different to me, but I think that I've gotten better to communicate with them about my autism, and they've been given help from certain people that are helping me as well to understand more about myself and how to cope with me when I'm in a certain situation. Ever since the incident happened, it's brought them more, it's made them more aware of who I am and how I see the world and how I do things.
And do you want to talk more about this incident?
No, I don't.
No, okay. What have you done to gain more confidence knowing that you're autistic?
Well, I've definitely put myself a lot more out there as of recent. I go to this place called the Creative Community Hub where I have a friend there called Leon. He and I get along very well. We just talk about general life and stuff, but also there are these two people, one of them called Derek and his friend. We play cards together and it's very fun, but also I'm starting to connect a lot more outside of my general family life.
And apart from your autism, do you have any other health problems?
Well, I do have intolerances, but that's not neurodivergence, but I don't think I've ever been tested for any other neurodivergence like ADHD or anything like that, but I do think that I have autism and maybe something else, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so you feel like there's something more?
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you think that?
Just in my general habits, my day-to-day life, and how I walk and talk. Oh yeah, I do think I have dyspraxia, so that's a mental condition that makes walking and basic motor functions very difficult for me. However, as of recent, when I was coming back from the cinema, which I like to go to as well, I forgot to mention that, I managed to go down the stairs without holding my hand on the rail. So I do think that I'm getting a bit better, but if I'm, say, holding two things or more than two things in my hands and I'm walking downstairs, I feel absolutely terrified that I'm going to drop them and they could smash and go everywhere. So I'm having to constantly look down at my feet to make sure that I don't slip over or anything.
And do you need more help than you did before your diagnosis for autism?
It's a very tricky question to answer, but I do feel like I still need help because understanding my autism is quite difficult, and I do have help from from lots of people who uh, known me for a very long time, or known me for a short period of time. That yeah, I do feel like I have more awareness of my autism, but I do feel like I still need help to understand it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the hardest thing about being autistic?
The hardest thing is that you know you're autistic, but you can't do a lot to make yourself feel more grounded in reality. Like for me personally, I have more of a imaginative and fantastical mind that's more drawn to fiction-based things than things that are based in reality, and I find it quite hard to stay in the real world where. But if I'm like drawn to a fictional world that I'm more focused on, like my Robin Hood stories or my Maximus stories, it makes me feel more connected to those fictional worlds.
Do you think that the real world is set up for autistic people?
It depends on the kind of person who's autistic, but I don't think so, no. I think that the real world is very hard for autistic people to cope with everything that's going on nowadays, especially people who have just started their diagnosis, but also people who don't know that they're autistic and people who know they're autistic. It's very difficult because you see how autistic people are portrayed in the media is extremely different to how autistic people are in real life. The people who create those films and TV shows, apart from one, which was recommended to me, which is about autism and dating, a lot of them just think that they're just the quiet, quirky kid, or someone who's extremely over the top and can't focus on one thing.
Mm. How does it feel knowing that there's not much representation out there for you as an autistic person?
I feel really annoyed that there aren't as many facilities that can help us. Obviously, it's quite hard to find people who can actually talk to and help you to understand more about your autism nowadays.
Mm. And do you think there's lots of roadblocks for autistic people to, say, get into education, employment, being independent?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of establishments don't have a lot of facilities for people who are autistic or neurodivergent. I mean, all of the people that I've known aren't like me, but definitely do have some kind of neurodivergence, who are on the spectrum as well. And I believe that every single establishment should have at least a room with experts that they can talk to, whether it's just their day-to-day lives or like their life in general as well. I think that, but then the government just wouldn't have enough, money to fund those kinds of things at the moment, because everything's just going towards stuff that isn't important. But if it goes towards stuff that is important, like helping young kids to grow and mature about their neurodivergency, then that would help them to make their lives easier, so that when they finish school or college, they have a better understanding of themselves, so that they'll be able to tell their employers, I'm autistic, these are the things that need to happen for me to work here, and then the employer has to have an understanding of neurodivergency as well.
Mm. And there are, some employers and companies that are putting together more autism training and that sort of thing, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
What do you think your life would have been different if you'd been diagnosed earlier?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if I'd known earlier, then I could have maybe had a better understanding of myself, but also understand why I got bullied so much as a kid, and maybe stand up for myself a bit more.
Mm. You find it hard to stand up for yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And, you know, there's nothing we can do to change people around us and how they treat us, but I think more advocacy and representation for autistic people is important, especially in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who is maybe going down the route of diagnosis, or maybe thinks they're autistic, or a young person who's struggling? What would you say to them?
Make sure to that's a tough question actually. Make sure to tell anyone that you trust about how you're thinking and feeling. Take time to talk to your families and friends that the real reason why you're so different is because you're neurodivergent or autistic. And sure, some of them might not understand, but your family members will, because they love you, they will try to help you go through this as much as they can.
Okay. And is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.